Welcome to Hackit Plus. In this video, we will deal with exploitation basics. It is fundamental that you know what your goals are before starting the lesson. In this lesson, you have to understand what an exploit is, to understand what a payload is, to understand what a bind shell is, to understand what a reverse shell is. You are expected to correctly answer the exercises to measure your understanding. Every good learning plan has steps that need to be followed. First, watch the video carefully. Watch it again and again until everything is simple and clear to you. Keep in mind that you can get help from tutors if something is still not clear. Then you have to complete the exercises. Do not forget to send them in as part of your certification exam. The lesson requires you have a virtualization application, Kali Linux, Metasploitable 2 virtual machine, Nessus, which has been installed during a previous lesson, and an active internet connection. Fire up your Kali virtual machine and Metasploitable 2 virtual machines now. We have defined vulnerability as a weakness that allows an attacker to compromise a system. In other words, vulnerability is a weakness that can be exploited. Imagine a car thief. He needs vulnerability like coming from the doors or from the window in order to get inside the car. The exploit is the code which allows an attacker to take advantage of a particular vulnerability that a system offers. The car thief needs to open the doors or the windows in order to get inside. The lockpick, or another object by which he gets the car open, is the exploit. Once the car thief is inside the car, he needs to do something in order to start the car. That's the payload. The payload is the code which runs on the system after the exploitation. The process is this. First, a vulnerability should exist. Then an exploit is launched, and then a payload follows and is executed. Luckily, the exploit and the payload are usually shipped together. Often when you are launching an exploit downloaded from the internet, this includes also a payload. It is always a two-step process. The payload can be something that adds a user to the system, removes a user from the system, or simply a terminal with which you can communicate with the victim, so a shell. And you may have many other possibilities. Speaking about the shell, we have two different alternatives. One is the bind shell, and the other is the reverse shell. Bind shell. After the exploit code, the attacker asks the victim to open a shell on port 4444. In order to control the victim, the attacker should actively connect to the 4444 port directly to gain the direct interactive session. The attacker tries to connect to the victim after having ordered the victim to open a shell. This will work for sure if no firewall is up on the victim. If a firewall is up, there is a good chance that it blocks the incoming connection. Therefore, bind shell works only when no firewall is up, something that you know after the port scanning process. But do not worry because we have a good solution. The great majority of firewalls are configured to block incoming connections, but not outgoing connections. So we just need to ask the victim to call us. Remember, this is after the exploit, so we already have an open space to put the payload. As you can see, this is a reverse shell example. The attacker requests the victim to call him. The victim calls the attacker and the firewall is bypassed. I strongly recommend you use exclusively the reverse shell because firewalls are quite widespread nowadays. As you see, we are in Kali. We fire up Nessus. open the terminal. And type /etc/init.d/nessusd and press enter. Now open your browser and go to https://kali:8834. Log in using your Nessus user created from the earlier lesson. Under Reports, open the previous one run for Metasploitable 2. Click on the host IP address to view the details. Now go to the VSFTPD smiley face backdoor. Now look at the title and the description. The title is VSFTPD smiley face backdoor. First of all, a backdoor is a method used by hackers to re-access to hosts that have already been hacked. Usually an attacker leaves something that will allow him to come back to the exploited system. But some attackers hack the server in which the software lies to change the software code for the purpose of distributing all over the world a backdoored software. That's the case of VSFTPD version 2.3.4. The descriptions in Nessus tell us the version of VSFTPD running on the remote host has been compiled with a backdoor. Attempting to log in with a username containing : close parentheses, a smiley face, triggers the backdoor, which results in a shell listening on TCP port 6200. So it creates an unauthenticated bind shell, quite useful for hackers. Let's do it. Before starting, remember what IP address Metasploitable 2 has. If not, log in with msfadmin as username and password and do the ifconfig command in order to get it. Let's analyze the process step by step. The vulnerability of VSFTPD is that if you log in using any username containing : close parentheses, a smiley face, that triggers a shell listening on TCP port 6200. A username containing : close parentheses is our exploit. This is our exploit code. Keep in mind that exploits will normally be much more complex than a smile. The payload in our case is automatic because a shell will be listening directly on TCP port 6200. That too would normally be much more complex. Let's exploit it now. On Kali's terminal, let's type FTP, enter. Now type open, enter. Now type 192.168.1.103, which should be the IP address of your Metasploitable 2 virtual machine. and press Enter. Now let's type capital HACKER colon close parentheses for the username. And press Enter. Now let's use the word hacker for our password. And press Enter. In a new terminal window, type NC space 192.168.1.103 space 6200. And press Enter. Of course, we are using Netcat to connect to port 6200 on our Metasploitable 2 virtual machine. Now type ID Enter. And let's type CD space / Enter and LS Enter. Great! We see our ID as root and we can see the file system and can do whatever we want. Now it has been a really simple example because the exploitation was really easy and the payload was automatic. This is not exactly a common exploitation, but I hope now the process is clear. Now check the Hackit Plus exercise PDF and complete the exercises for this lesson. I hope you've enjoyed this video. See you in the next one.